Again. This is 2020 Erzberg KTM 300 Xc-W Special Edition. Look at this thing. This thing is sweet. Scott has this baby decked out. Flex bars, gauge for the radiator. I mean, he's got all the bells and whistles on this thing. And we are going to take it for a test drive. We're very fortunate and appreciate Scott for letting us do this. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Leave me a comment and hit that notification bell. That way you can see all the awesome content that makes this 10 West Moto. So we're extremely fortunate to be on this 2020 Erzberg KTM 300 Xc-W. There's only 500 of these things made according to KTM's website, and there's only a handful of them that are shipped to the United States, and we are just overjoyed that our buddy Scott has one and actually allowed us to ride it. I did a commentary, was talking about the bike when I was on it, but you can't really hear it because I don't have a helmet mic or anything like that, and I may invest in one, I don't know. But right now, what really, the very first thing I noticed about this bike when I hopped on it was the throttle response, and we'll get to that in a second. But basically, I wanted to take it through this little sandy area, through these little whoops, and kind of wide open a little bit through some of the flat straights and everything, just to see if the torque and the feel of it was like the very first KTM 300 Xc-W in 2006 that came out with, that I currently am on and am riding and racing. So automatically I noticed that the throttle response and the power delivery was just a night and day tamed delivery compared to my 2006 KTM 300 Xc-W. And it's the power is there, don't get me wrong, but it takes a little bit of throttle to really get on it, so it's more of a linear type thing. So you go quarter throttle in between, and even in some gears you can go up to half throttle. It doesn't feel like the bike is going to loop out or it's going to take off from under your legs like my 2006 does. A little bit of throttle brake on the 2006 Xc-W, and it just goes. It's 100% or 0. With this one, you can pick and choose what you want to do and where you want to do it and how you want the power to track through the wheel, and that was absolutely amazing. Now, something else that I definitely noticed as soon as I hopped on this thing was the suspension setup. Now, it is a brand new bike. I think Scott has about 5 hours on this thing. Compared to my 300, it's just extremely quiet. And it's set up for his weight. We're about the same size, give or take, 10-15 pounds or whatever, but it felt just so cushiony. It was soaking everything up, and really whatever kind of bumps you hit that I would normally feel like I would hesitate or I would pay a little more attention to, I wasn't so focused on them on this bike, just around this little section in the few minutes that I rode it. And I did notice that difference. It feels really tameable compared to my 300, which Scott is on right now. Mine's got a really hard hit even with the Recluse. This one is just smooth. The crazy thing is I have a Recluse Z-Start Pro in my bike, as you guys know from my previous videos. I've rebuilt it, I've torn it apart, I've burned up clutch plates and all that stuff. But this one, it has stock clutch, everything stock on the motor so far, and it felt just way better than the Recluse that I have. Nothing against Recluse, but damn, man, you guys got to step it up. This thing, the clutch on it was just amazing. the only way, and I'll talk about that in a minute, the only way really I felt like I could stall this bike out is if I stopped and just let the clutch go. There's low end grunt, even with just feathering the clutch very lightly. It felt like it was not going to give up. It was just going to keep on, lugging along, which is exactly what you want when it comes to a bike that is built like this for hard enduros, extreme enduros, hair scrambles, and everything that we're going to do with this thing.
Front brakes are really touchy. Oh. Man, let's take it to the real quick. Third gear. I cannot get over how smooth this thing feels. She does. We'll do first, second for a start and a hair scramble. This is their enduro bike, the Xc-W Erzberg. This thing is sweet. It runs straight gas. It's oil injected, I think. So you just put straight gas in it.
So there is a learning curve to this bike. There's no kickstart backup. The option is there. Scott said he was presented with the option. It was an extra, $500, $600, $700, but it added a lot of weight. And the battery, it's great. But there's a learning curve to dead engine starts if you want to race hair scrambles.
This thing is way smooth, man. The throttle response, it's not like that one. It doesn't have a little snap on it. It's got more of a controlled response, Except it's got, the power's there. If you want it maybe a little after quarter throttle, if you really tweak it a little, you'll take off. Yeah, it's made for like tight single track enduros and shit like that. So you can lug it around more in the lower gears instead of third, fourth gear like a 250 or something, See, even with the Recluse in that one, it's still, the front wheel wants to come up. On hills, everything. You gotta...
I feel that this was a light switch.
Yeah.
This was more like my IT490 was.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It was just on or off.
Yep. Now, if you get a smooth pace going, then you can hold the RPMs and it's alright and kind of blip it a little bit. Yeah. And it really helps going over roots and logs because it'll help loft the front wheel, but still, it'll get you in trouble on hills too. You got to be careful with it. But this doesn't.
It's so easy to loft the front wheel. There's.
Yeah. I know the suspension on this thing, man. You got it set up perfect.
I haven't touched it yet. I haven't done anything to it yet.
It's spongy and it's sweet. I like it.
The bike comes with a lot of bling, but I added the Mongo skid plate there. That's from P-Tech, and the flex bars, and then I put the Impact Flex fast pegs on it. And comes with the tugger straps, all the guards for the disc guards. Came with wraparound hand guards, but I don't like them. They attach to the brake.
Oh no.
And clutch mass cylinder, so not a good design. So I got another set of them to better protect the bike. But the power delivery is very linear and very smooth and predictable. Very great tractable and low RPMs for chugging through tight stuff in the forest, up steep hills and stuff. It's no need for a Recluse on a bike like this. Just the slightest little feather and it just keeps chugging. Won't give you that unpredictable snap that will come out from under you. It's the power's there if you need it.
That's true. It doesn't feel like it would loop out. Even if you dumped it. I'm sure it would, but it doesn't feel like it would.
I think a lot of thought went into where they're at. Fuel injection, oil injection.
Oh yeah.
It comes with a cooling fan, so it's got all the stuff that you would put on the bike if you were setting it up for hard enduro stuff, Yeah, I love it. What'd you think of it?
It's all right. I think, really, I mean, the setup is nice. The suspension is like spot on, especially for my weight. It's real spongy and forgiving. And I mean, for a hair scramble, especially for what we're doing, it's perfect, I think. The hill climbs and all that shit seems like it would just tractor right up them. Instead of like this thing, even with the Recluse, it wants to loop out. You'll lift the front wheel up real easily with it. But with that, even feathering the clutch and all that stuff, it'll still do it, but it's a lot more controllable. I think it's worth it. I think it's underpriced. You got the flex hand guards?
Yeah.
So you won't need the Tusk fucking remount kits.
Nope, they bolt right in.
That's good.
I'm gonna call it a skid plate. It's a shovel.
Yeah. How much?
I hosed it for like 30 minutes, and then I had to change the oil, so I took the skid plate off. There was still like 8 pounds of freaking dirt and leaves underneath it, right?
Yeah.
All packed down in. There's no way to get it out without taking it off.
You got protection on that pipe though, man. Shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.